Hello and welcome, or top of the morning to you on this March episode of Tviva, a monthly program for finding out about all the wonderful things that are going on in Fall River. I'm Patti Rigo, Executive Director of Viva Fall River, an organization that promotes all the wonderful things about Fall River, including its small businesses and its community. Here, once again, thankfully, is my co-host, my lovely co-host, Ashley Okino, Executive Director of the Fall River Arts and Culture Coalition, a wonderful open source member organization that is an advocacy organization for artists and just works on promoting and creating a really vibrant and robust creative economy here in the South Coast. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. I wish, I had it there. I was going to throw some like Irish kind of terms at you.
Would have been totally lost on me.
It's okay.
I am so Portuguese, it's painful. But March.
We're here.
Can you believe it's March?
No, but it's okay. The winter wasn't too bad. We're coming through it.
We're getting through it. Time is flying by. And speaking of time and also winter, almost daylight savings time. Sweet baby Jesus, thank you. I'm not cut out for the dark.
The spring ahead's tough though.
Yeah.
We're all gonna feel like we maybe went on like a vacation. So I try to pretend like I'm going on, vacation, coming back, and it's just like the jet lag I'm dealing with.
Oh my God, that's such a good way to deal with it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So pretend you go on vacation the week.
We're gonna have to pick where I went on vacation.
You have lots of vacation opportunities.
That's true. Staycation opportunities. I don't want to. And speaking of that, I don't want to miss a moment of any of today's show because we are going to be highlighting a couple of the events that are taking place in March. But we're going to devote a good portion of this episode to something that we kind of teased in last month's episode. We're going to talk about some of the findings from our conversations with you, the community, at some of the events that we were participating in last spring and summer. So I say let's just spring to it. I'm going to work on my puns today. Like I said, we're not going to be able to touch on as many events as we normally do, so I'm just going to do my plug right now for, you can find the full Fall River events list at vivafallriver.com or on our social media pages. The first of the month, we always put it out, and has a downloadable PDF, so don't want anybody to feel that we neglected, but we had to cherry pick some. So we're going to start with our friends at the Children's Museum, where they're having a big celebration in March, which is really exciting. 10 years of being open. It feels like they've always been part of the fabric of the community. And in some ways, I guess they have. But I mean, having that building and it's just such a wonderful destination, and it's not much like it in the area.
No, and it's incredibly artful. They have new murals. They have a brand new dinosaur mural. Shout out to Greg Pennison. It looks fantastic.
I love that dinosaur room. So that mural is going to be...
It really enhances the room so much. And then they have a new mural that's going into their entryway too.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, go by and see it.
Oh, I'm going to.
Yeah.
Well, there's two opportunities.
Yeah, local Westport artists. Great stuff.
The first weekend of March. So on March 4th, they're having a fundraiser at Whites of Westport. We will be there. It's starting at 6, and it's actually, it's a comedy show in addition to dinner. So dinner and entertainment for $50. You can't get that a lot of places, and it's for an amazing cause, obviously, for the next 10 years. And then the day after, it's a family celebration. So at the museum will be open, but from 12 to 4, they're going to have some special things for the kids, like tattoos, a couple of character actors. I think that Poppy is going to be there from Trolls, which is one of my faves. They're going to have a magician and free goodie bags to the first 100 kids.
Wonderful.
Yep, so it's not free though, it is admission, $10 admission, but again, this all goes back to the wonderful staff at the museum who literally are the lifeblood of that place.
And if you are someone who has SNAP benefits, they do participate in Museums for All, which is a free admission program. So I just want to put that out there.
No, I always forget about that. And the same thing with the Fall River Public Library, which is the next one we're going to talk about. They always have fun and engaging programming for kids. And if you go on their website, or even if you just decide you want to go there to the circulation desk, you can get museum passes. I believe to the Children's Museum, but also I took
all over the place.
Boston Children's Museum, which was really great because with a family of 4, it's expensive. And it really just was, it's wonderful. And then there's all kinds, you can take ukuleles out and stuff.
What?
I know.
Okay.
I know, new hobby. So they have some really interesting things going on this month, like Reiki-infused meditation for kids from 11 to 12 on March 11th, which I think is really, really great. I'm really happy to see them incorporating like wellness programming and that's all of it, just like reading enriches your life. I mean, these types of things do as
too.
well. So I
Yep.
think it's really, these are things that not everybody in the community has access to. So it's really wonderful that they're doing this for free. And then an event I personally look forward to every year. I always bring my beads. It's the Great Leprechaun Hunt. And you basically, children, I say you, like, because I've done it, but kids will go around the library, usually the main floor, and they are looking for the elusive leprechaun that's hidden. And along the way, you collect gold coins and jewels and little other treasures, and whoever finds the tricky little fellow gets a special prize. And one year, my stepdaughter found it. So
That's awesome.
Yes, and we still talk about it all the time. And so the program will start with a short story, How to Catch a Leprechaun. So they're going to tee you up for it, which is great. And it's for ages 4 and up. And I tell you, it's super fun. It's such a great time. And that's March 16th, so the day before St. Patrick's Day from 4 to 5.
Awesome.
And right around that same time, on March 15th, the Viva Fall River pop-up shop, we're going to have a special Meet the Makers. And in this case, the makers are authors.
That's fantastic.
Local Fall River authors. So we'll be having some readings and book signings from 5 to 8 with some of the authors whose titles we carry. And then, you know, we're shopping, and we're going to also have a... we're doing this thing this year where on our Meet the Makers, we want you to become makers as well. So we're having like free make and take activities. So this will be, you're going to do block print bookmarks with Brianna Santo.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the Valentines came out really good. It made me feel like I'm an artist too. Feel really good. I mean, I go to Frac, so
there you go.
Right there. And then also on the 15th, I mentioned this one because I love seeing new events, and I think not only have events come back full force to the city, but then new events, like first time events, which are always really exciting. And this one's being put on by Dunny's Restaurant. And this is a card and hobby show. So this is something for all ages, that from young to, you know, to grandpas and grandmas. Like, this is a great activity that people kind of like really pass down through their family. So it's on the 15th from 6 to 9. So you can actually go to the Meet the Makers and then also go to this, but no cover charge, which is also really wonderful. So you can spend all your money on your hobbies and your cards. And then, well, there's always something different at the Narrows.
Always.
So, I mean, but I did want to mention one specifically that I'm really excited about, and I was going to invite you to it, actually. It's a show that's a little different from the types of shows that you know, typically would see at the Narrows, which are, you know, tends to be more folk and blues and rock, but, and this is Latin American music. And this is on March 11th from, I had to do it phonetically, Sol y Canto and Fabiola Mendez. So Sol y Canto is an award-winning pan-Latin ensemble led by Puerto Rican and Argentine singer and percussionist Rosie Amador and New Mexican guitarist and composer Brian Amador. And Fabiola Mendez is a Puerto Rican cuatro player, educator and composer that's taken part in a musical movement crossing over from the lines of folkloric, jazz, and Latin music. Now, what's a cuatro? Cuatro. See, I gotta work.
Yeah, what is that?
What is it? So I actually read online that it says it's like if a mandolin had and a guitar had a baby.
Beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful?
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. It sounds like it would be beautiful, and I know this is going to be beautiful. And so this music, Fabiola's music is really rooted in Puerto Rican tradition and culture. And, you know, I think, and so, well, Sol y Canto is more Latin American, and I think it's going to be really great for those populations that some of the newer residents to Fall River. There's a big Latin population from South America, and I think that this would be a great way for them to experience the Narrows, because there are a lot of people who haven't experienced the Narrows who live here. So I think this is going to be exciting.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really loved about it was that they really make it accessible for, if you do not have to speak Spanish to really interact and really understand this show. They make their shows very accessible for both Hispanic and non-Hispanic audiences. So I think it's going to be a really great show. I definitely am going to go. I love all shows at the Narrows, but I think this one's going to have a special energy to it. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for highlighting that.
Yes. And then, well, so we're already talking about arts and culture, so I must take it over to you to talk about what FRAC has going on in March.
So we have our monthly meeting. It's always the second Monday of the month. This coming month on March 13th, we will be meeting at Heritage State Park at 5 o'clock. So 5 p.m., come join us at the Thomas Hudner Visitors Center, and we'll have a special presentation by Representative Carol Fiola in regards to the, I will call it a movement of Revolution 250, which is an honoring of our founding of this country and all of the different cultures that make it up. So for more information about Revolution 250 and to just join into a FRAC meeting, because great time, great fun for all. But no, in all seriousness, it's a wonderful opportunity for people to get together and network and just share what you have going on your calendar as well. So please come join us. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it'll be a good time so that you can, if you're still thinking about doing an event for South Coast Spring Arts Week, which is May 5th through the 14th, this would be a great time because we need to have all the events submitted by the end of March, so March 31st.
Yep.
So, you know, time's a ticking. Come and join somebody else's or just come with your own idea. We're always all ears.
Yep.
And so one last event before we go over to our other thing that we're going to be talking about. So Fall River Restaurant Week is going to be coming in March 24th through April 2nd. So we have 2 weekends there to enjoy and all the time in between, of course. Still finalizing the list of restaurants that is coming up, the deadline. But I can say that last year we had 12 restaurants and we're already at 14. And we're still we're over a week away from the end of the sign-up period. So I really, I feel good about getting to our goal. And so all I can say is please keep an eye on our social media pages, especially our Facebook event page for the 2023 Fall River Restaurant Week updates and our final list. And you'll also be able to see the menus because before I go out and eat, I like to look at the menu first because I'm usually talking with my friends. I'm not paying attention. The server comes over 15 times. So I'm one of those people that like scans. And so we want to make sure you have all the information so that you can pick and choose and just don't put anything on your calendar for those days. Just understand and trust that you are going to go out and eat and have a good time.
Sounds delish.
Yeah. So now on to the good stuff, or actually it's more like the green stuff.
The green stuff. And by green stuff, we mean green spaces and common places. And so what happened last spring is both FRAC and Viva Fall River were partners with the Fabric Arts Festival. Wonderful multiple years running arts festival that takes place here in the city. And as part of Fabric Arts Festival, we devised an exercise really to focus on different neighborhoods throughout Fall River where there was either a prominent green space or public area. And so we held a workshop on a Saturday morning inside Government Center in the, I guess, the cafeteria space is what it's known as. I like to call it
the community gathing space. But yes, it was the cafeteria.
Well, we ate. We had delicious little snacks and everything for people that.
So,
well, we had more than vending machines, but we had a wonderful group of people that were invited to come in, and the public was also invited to come and join us for that session. And so some of the questions that we thought about and considered when looking at these green spaces and public areas across Fall River is how do we create common spaces in our neighborhood? How can we transform physical characteristics of our neighborhood? How can neighbors unite to form a community within their own neighborhood while at the same time welcoming in others from other neighborhoods? And how do residents use the spaces and what's needed? And so we each had a map of different sections around the city, and together we kind of just had a big brainstorm about how spaces could be used, some barriers that exist within spaces. And so one of the things that I want to just point out was what were the spaces we were talking about. So let's just name those. So Corky Row, downtown and the Quequechan River Rail Trail, the Flint and Lower Highlands, the waterfront, City Pier, Father Kelly Park, Chew Playground, and the Globe. Wow. So we did group a lot of those together in conversation. And so we do have a map, and so we'll make sure we throw that up on the screen so you can see the different pins located inside the map. And so for the purposes of Fabric Arts Festival, the pins on the map are purple. And really, it was interesting to hear what people in the room had to say based on their experience within the city, whether they were one of the visiting artists from Fabric, someone that works in the city, a resident of the city, whether old, young, different generations.
There are people who worked with the populations in that area. Like specifically, I think my group was the Corky Row group. So there were people that were from Greater Fall River Recreation who work with some of the more challenging aspects of that neighborhood. And I, for one, really learned. My eyes were opened to a lot of things that I had not considered, and that's really what this was. It was like, there was somebody on each group that was familiar with the area, and then there were people who were unfamiliar. So it was like an exchange of information and ideas. But then also, we weren't trying to solve anything. We were just trying to gather information, and how do we if I don't work there, how do I, how could I, what can I do? And just learning more about what goes on in a neighborhood in which you don't live.
Yeah. And just to have general, that's why it's called, we're calling them, I guess, creative conversation is really kind of what it was billed as. And it is just about the exercise of bringing people together and just talking about things like face to face, not just behind a screen, coming after people or whatever way, but it's about having face-to-face conversations about things that will make a positive impression and move the city forward in a good way. So I also have some fantastic word bubbles that I'll show.
I love word bubbles.
And so up on the screen, we'll make sure that we show the word bubble that was associated with fabric. But you'll see on there some of the biggest words are neighborhood, access, transportation, water, pedestrian, train, civic participation. I think these are really key, heavy words that just, again, it was a reflection of what was going on at these mini group conversations, like the group you worked with or the group I worked with. So, for example, we were looking at the Father Kelly and the Chew playground area, and one of the things we talked about was how these playgrounds in many ways read as one green space, and how there's a road that divides between them. And so we talked about issues with potentially crossing that road and how we could increase visibility or crosswalk access. And so that was just a little bit about what we talked about.
But
safety.
And again, and this kind of came up with the public portion. It's like, we're not trying to solve the housing crisis or safety insofar as it means policing. It's like, how do you use art and how do you use things like lighting and just having more presence, whether that be events and whatnot. How do you use those things that are within our control? Because I can't control housing.
No.
I'm not on the police force.
No.
I'm not in government, but I can control or I can advocate for certain things that would enhance a neighborhood that also serve those purposes. So sometimes the topic of safety, you go right toward one thing, but you have to think broader about that term. Safety also means having things well lit, having things well used, having them to be safe, just something as simple as you have a pedestrian walkway that needs repairing. How does a community come together? It's not always the responsibility of the city. It is at the end of the day, but it's there are ways in which a community can come together to advocate for those things, and then find out the obstacles, find out the ways to go about it, and just have a conversation before you automatically say, oh, well, this is why. Just the conversation is really the important piece.
It is, and I'm glad that you brought that up because housing and fair housing is a
huge.
It's an international issue, and it's very much an issue here in Bristol County and in Fall River. And so I do want to just throw out 3 websites in case people have questions about housing, or most people that live in the city, you're renters, and so you should know your rights as a tenant as well.
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to throw out a few websites, and we'll make sure we put them on the screen as well. But it includes masslegalhelp.org/housing, the Neighbor Works Housing Solutions, which is nhsmass.org, and of course the city website, fallrivermass.org. There's actually a lot of great information about fair housing right on the city website. So please use the resources that we've shared. And if others have other resources, we're always happy to, as you said, Frack's an advocate. I'm happy to share in any way, even though this doesn't necessarily tie into art, but it does tie into art.
Everything ties in together.
And that's why this became part of the conversation ultimately, because we were talking about public areas, and we were talking about what do residents need, and how do they use the space, and what are their boundaries. And so boundaries in a broad term, it's how
do they currently use the space, and what do they dream and imagine about? And again, we're not necessarily in a position to make everything happen, but there's always people who are out there, and again, they might not be aware of some of the things. So it's important to
we can't all know everything.
No,
it's impossible. So we share what we do know in hopes that it will help someone. So we had a great so to sum it up, we had a great conversation on that Saturday with our friends as part of the Fabric Arts Festival, and then throughout the summer, FRAC and Tviva were partnered up with the Narrows in the city of Fall River for summer evenings in the park. And it was, again, another wonderful 8 weeks of music and delicious food and arts that happened around the city. And in 2022, there was 8 in different parks that were visited. And so in each of the parks, we continued these conversations with the community. And so it was a little bit different of a conversation in the sense that we tailored it more for the space that we were in.
Like right there, like we had a map on the table blown up of where we were standing, so people could literally point and say, I use this area, or I walk by here and it's not good, you know, or this needs to be fixed, so that we could really just put literal markers to say, like, these are the things that need the most attention, or these are the things that we lack that we would like to see.
Yeah, and so the same thing like with the first exercise, we had a set of questions that we asked them. So, you know, where do you hang out inside your neighborhood? What kind of events would you like to see in your neighborhood? Where don't you hang out in your neighborhood? And then what are your favorite places, or what are your needs within this? And so, again, it was a wonderful conversation, and I will say that there was a lot of fun free swag on the table as well. So, you know, if you see us, there's probably free swag attached to it. So come by and say hi. But between Griffin, Pulaski, Polos, Ruggles, Kennedy, Lafayette, Abbott Court, and North Park. So we went to all of those different neighborhoods, talked to lots of different folks. And so again, as I mentioned, we'll have the map up on the screen with all the little yellow
Don't forget that word cloud.
Yep, and I'm going to go right to the word cloud next. So with the word cloud, just like we did with the exercise with Fabric Arts Festival, between notes that were taken, or in this case, there was a lot of like actual writing on stickies and pinning of information and still note-taking as people were talking. You know, we really were listening. And so for the word cloud that came out of the summer evenings in the park, you'll see on that one, the biggest word, perhaps because it was summer when we were doing this, was splash pad, because it's a hot world out there.
It's a city, urban green. You know, with the more we take away the trees, the hotter it gets within the city. And some of these parks are really in the heart of the city. Like North Park is not. It's at the top of a hill that's very windy. So they obviously, I don't believe we heard splash pad there, but you hear splash pad at Pulaski. They have a small one. Poulos, which definitely could use one. What a beautiful park too that so many people don't know about. So yeah, I mean, those things, always bathroom.
I mean, cities just become heat islands, and that's why, you know, gateway cities like Fall River have opportunities to take advantage of, like greening the gateway. The DCR will bring you free trees to your house and plant them, and I mean, they're worth hundreds.
Every year on Arbor Day, I grab a couple trees. I'm trying to keep them alive, but I mean, I'd love to.
They take a lot of water. That's the exchange for it. But yeah, splash pad definitely rose right to the top of that list, and not far behind it were things like gazebo. We're talking about shade, bathrooms. I know that that's a hot topic within city parks.
It is.
But also, you know, playground and art and events and painting and music. Those were also wonderful things that we heard from people of what they were kind of experiencing in the park at that time, and that they want to see more of it happening.
And I think also see more of it in their park.
In their neighborhood.
Which is what's really nice about the event. A lot of times we do things on the waterfront or downtown just for centralization, but the nice thing about these events is that we go to people's neighborhoods, and then what's really great, because that's my second year doing it. Last year, this will be my third, hopefully we do it again, is that people who go to one park will then get out of their neighborhood, and then they'll go to North Park, so South End, North End, and you see the same people, and they go to all 8 of them. They begin making friends across the city, and it sounds so like, you know, kind of a little pedestrian, but like, it is about getting to know your neighbors and realizing that, you know, the pain points that you have on the South End, you know, some of those may, you know, coincide with on the North End, and we're all part of the same city. So how do we, you know, all work together?
And as you said, because it's in individual neighborhoods as well, it removes some of the transportation barriers for folks, so they can actually step out their front door and go a block or two to participate in the program. So that's really important as well. And so multiple weeks and probably almost hundreds, probably close to hundreds of people talked to between all of the different places that we went to. But what was really also key for for FRAC and Viva to understand is that how this connects back to our broader goals of the work of what Viva Fall River does and what FRAC does, and also the city's master plan. I mean, there are lots of really wonderful established goals across all of these different entities that I mentioned, and both the exercise that we did and some of the things that came out of it do touch on that. We just talked about access. That's definitely something that comes up in all of them. Equity in quality and distribution of access, and within well-lit spaces, of course. Opportunities to participate in a wide range of events, strengthening neighborhoods, and upgrades that are needed to those neighborhoods so it's more comfortable for all, and of course walkability. I mean, generally walkability in wayfinding. We had mentioned at the beginning the crosswalk between the two parks. So these are all things that do take investment. I want to say, like they don't just magically appear overnight.
Yeah, it's not that we
they do take investment, but it's wonderful to hear that. These have been identified, so maybe they can help rise to the top as different priorities are set within the city, that maybe some of these kind of come to the surface and investment can be made.
And not everybody, has the opportunity to go to the park board or feels comfortable going to the park board or going to city meetings. And so I know that our intention is to, to present these findings to the park board and perhaps see what ways our organizations can assist in doing some of these. I mean, we can't do them all. I mean, I can't, build a crosswalk or whatever, but we can work on some of the things together or brainstorm or, so it's just a nice step, and it's always good to hear what the community thinks about what you're doing to see if you're in the right direction or if you should, try something different. So
yeah, and so besides presenting this to the park board, we'll make sure that this presentation that we're kind of referring to on screen here is available for everyone to look at. So we'll make sure we get that out there.
And at that same time, we will also we'll provide our email addresses. We're not done taking your advice and your suggestions.
And I mean, honestly, I would like to continue going out if we haven't confirmed summer evenings in the park yet, but I would like to very much continue having conversations with all of you at the parks across the city this summer.
Absolutely. We'll be sure to tell you here on TV.
Oh yeah, you'll know all about it.
So I can't believe it, but we're already nearing the end of our time with you. So I'm going to do a quick plug for Fall River's #1 events calendar on vivafallriver.com. As always, I make a plea, please submit your events, or if you know people who are having events, shoot them our way. Happy to enter them for you, but we do have a community submission calendar. You could also sign up for our weekly newsletter, which is Viva News, and so you never miss a beat. We try to put things for community, youth, small businesses, try to put it all in there. It's like a smorgasbord of information. Ashley also has a monthly newsletter, and do not forget you're always cordially invited to attend FRAC's monthly meeting in this month, back in person, like as Ashley said, Monday, March 13th at 5 p.m. at the beautiful Heritage Park Visitors Center. And we already talked, we're going to have a special guest. And and then our April episode, I'll be able to reveal by then who won the Pastel de Nata Throwdown. We still have a couple days left. We're taping this a little early, so maybe we'll even have the winning Nata here, and maybe the winning golden Nata, because Fall River's going to win.
Yeah, I'll whatever ones you bring in, I'll make sure that I try them to make sure
it's your duty.
Yeah,
it's your duty.
Consistently good. Yeah.
So if you haven't gone out and voted yet, you still have a little bit more time, but can't wait till April. And until then, Viva Fall River.